I just posted it and I went to bed. Woke up 6 hours later. I had seen close to 100,000 likes. What you see today for most successful creators or creators you admire is not just consistency. It's what is behind that consistency, the foundation or the knowledge bank that they have. To survive as a creative and to enjoy the process or the work you're doing, you need two things. One, which is the most important, you need money that gives you room. The smallest of ideas can grow into something really big if it's solving the right need. I've learned it over and over again that there is room for every single one of us to fly. How can you work in a creative industry, working less hours, but then be able to make something relatively enough, pay your bills, to run your life without really stressing yourself, breaking your back, and at the same time not going broke? And the breakthrough for me happened when
Welcome to another edition of the Many Roads podcast. I'm your host, Okusanya, and today I have with me a creative and entrepreneur, someone that I followed for quite some time, really inspired by his journey and his story. He's also a husband, he's a dad, he's all-around guy, really authentic creator. And I'm honored to have him on the Many Roads podcast, right? So please help me welcome none other than Dimeji Ajegbile to the Many Roads podcast. Welcome, Dimeji.
Thank you so much, Oba, for having me. It means a lot.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like I said in the email to you, and like I just said in this intro, I've been sort of following you for quite some time, and you're one of those creators on the internet that is a breath of fresh air, because like I like to say, everybody's in this performance era, and everyone is in this performance age, and things really don't feel authentic and things really don't feel genuine. So it's really nice when I come across your videos, because then it's a reminder of that, oh, there's people who actually do this and actually care about the people that are on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
So I guess we could actually start off from there, Dimeji. Your mission to help amplify the voices of creatives, why and how? Yeah.
I feel like that's a very, I'm trying to find the right words. So it's a little bit more from it started from a very selfish interest, if I'm being honest. I think I started my creative career almost 13 years ago, if not more. And I don't think I saw anything that was very, very helpful in shaping the way my expressions came about, how things changed. And it was just a very big burden to me, because I'm in a country where access to the right information is very scarce. And then all the readily available data or information out there, they're from the Western world. So how do you create a balance between what works in your own local community and what everybody's doing, out there? So I became very curious, right? And I'm trying to find other persons who have the same passion as I, people who have tried to build something from nothing, and they've gone against all odds to do this thing, regardless of what the society is saying, within whatever country they're from. And I found a couple of people, and from time to time, I would talk to different people about, my goals, those burning desires and things that I really want to see happen in the world. And 80% of the time, they reciprocate, which is good. And I really like that. But then I wanted to find a way to always be able to go back to those conversations, because I'm the kind of person that if I find one good book that gives me clarity, direction, or anything I'm sort of trying to figure out, I can stay with that book for the next 5 years, just going back to it over and over again till I probably exhaust all of the information or wisdom within that book. And I wanted to do the same thing with these conversations I have with these people. So I started recording them on my note app, sorry, recording thing on my phone. And then I'll go back home and play them, listen to it over and over again, pick out a couple of things they said, apply them, you know, add my own bit to it till it becomes more like an original idea or concept,
Mm.
something I learned from someone, practice it
Yeah.
till I get really good at it. And then it just dawned on me, wait, there will be a lot more people who have very similar problems to mine. So
Mm.
why not just share these conversations with them? But
Yeah.
then they were not they were not the best quality. It's good for me, but I don't think it's good for consumption out there. So I just decided to start a podcast in 2018, and that was where it all started from. But then before that, I had a design school. Should I
Mm.
call it school? Yeah, I had a design school. Yeah, pretty much. Would train people on design, um, development, and a few other things. And then I started making some videos on YouTube, tutorials, things to teach people, you know, Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, Canva at the time, and a few other
Mm.
things, just people can learn stuff. And the more I did that, the more I realized that there is a very, very large knowledge gap in the
Mm.
creative industry. And then the biggest one I saw was the gap between skill
Mm.
and
Okay.
then income. It was too wide.
Wow.
People are very skilled, but then they lack the business knowledge. They lack the business side of design or of
Mm.
creativity. So to me, I'm like, okay, I think I can be part of those who will bridge this gap. And I started doing something about it. So that's pretty much how it all started. And it has gone through different stages. Yeah. You know, at some point I used to call myself a brand architect. And then I ventured into UX design and I started consulting. And then before I said, you know what, let me focus fully, not fully, but let me focus a lot more on building a personal brand, sharing my knowledge across, you know, platforms and see if that would do anything. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey out there.
That's incredible, bro. I think the sort of the thing that stands out for me is the fact that there's this curiosity to identify gaps,
Yeah.
and then there's the sort of level of intentionality of, okay, what can I do about it? And Dimeji, this is your reality, but not everybody has that sort of thing in them that says identify gaps and try to do something about it, right? So where does that stem from? You know.
I think I've always been a very curious child.
Mm.
Um, I think one of my earliest memories of wanting to do something, I would say big, was I grew up in Ibadan. And
Wow. Wow. So did I.
oh, amazing. So I grew up in Ibadan, and every single time we drove past Cocoa House,
Mm.
you know, I would stick my head out the window and I would say to my dad or whoever was in the car, one day I'm going to build something like this. I think years went by. I didn't even remember that experience at all. I was 7.
Mm.
And then I was prepping to sort of get into uni. And then my brother reminded me, which is interesting because everything I did all through to the point where I was about to apply for university, everything had these bits of curiosity in it. I
Mm.
was always doing the hard things, right?
Yeah.
Intro tech, technical drawing, all of those stuff. It just came very natural to me. I mean, not
Mm.
natural, but it was just like, how do things work? At
Yeah.
home, I'm the guy that would pull down some old radio, try
Mm-hmm.
to figure out why is this thing talking the way it does. I remember a time I almost opened up the back of, the TV. You know,
The
those TVs that
TV.
can have cats sit on it. And
Yeah.
I was so furious. Like, why would you do that? So that's the kind of person I am. And I think from when I was maybe 11, I was already building uh like houses with
Wow.
cardboard and all those kind of things. So
Mm.
I don't know. I just wanted to see how things worked, how
Yeah.
the world works. I would ask people questions. I was always that one that anytime people see me around, they're like, he's coming with questions. So they run. And I started nurturing it the more I understood about life,
Mm.
about the way things work. Um, I feel like it was one of those things that I carried into adulthood.
Mm.
A lot of times people lose their childlike spirit,
Yeah.
and the moment that happens, it's just very chaotic, going through life. So I found that to be a strength, and I sort of pursued it all the way. So I talked about the 7-year-old story of Cocoa House.
Mhm.
I eventually studied architecture. I practiced for a
Mhm.
few years before I took a break to explore more. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's the um maybe the not so interesting part about that kind of curiosity, because
Mhm.
one thing would never be enough.
Yeah.
You might get to a plateau or the peak of something and you feel like, you know what, I need to find another mountain to climb. So
Mhm.
I think that's been my life so far.
Yeah, it's that idea of like there's always something in you that's saying what's next, what's next, what's
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
Um, this is something I can relate to very much because and like architecture is so perfect because it sits right in that niche of like technical and creative,
Yeah.
right? And it actually explains a whole lot about you and what you do today, because you're literally helping creatives with the technical side of business, so to speak, right? So it,
Exactly.
it it actually does say a lot. But
Yeah.
as you were talking, Dimeji, it's the curiosity is one thing that I really wanted to point out. I had a guest a couple of episodes ago, and he was talking about how this is somebody who's in music, and he was talking about how his curiosity from a young age of trying to figure out how the voices were recorded in a cassette is what sort of drove him to eventually become a Grammy nominated producer. Right? So it almost seems like there's this common thing of curiosity in anyone who ends up doing something of significance, you
Yeah.
know. But you mentioned something. You said a lot of people have lost their childlike spirit, their childlike curiosity. What would you say to someone who is currently in that space? Maybe they don't feel as curious as they used to be. How do they get that back? Can they even get it back?
Yes, you can get it back. Uh, but I think it depends on the way you
Mm,
choose to go about it. If you think of the typical expressive child, you would think they would grow up to be an extrovert,
mm,
right? Which is cool. But then something happens within those, I don't know, maybe 16 to 21.
mm,
The kind of communities you have around you, and then the kind of things you feed your mind, they could shape the rest of your life
yeah.
if you're not careful. And for me, architecture was a catalyst. I won't dispute that. But then the other thing that came around then was just knowing that because I'm the very quiet type, I might not really speak out in class or all of those things.
Hmm.
I saw it that this could actually be one of the things that holds me back from
Mm,
really expressing or going all out with the things in my head. And I noticed, well, after years of research, of checking and searching my heart, researching and trying to figure out what exactly is the issue with me, not being able to do things the way I used to when I was younger, I realized that one of the things like we call anxiety today is just something that people don't acknowledge.
mm,
Now, I'm not all up for anxiety, right?
mhm.
But there are moments in your life as a young adult or as a teenager that if you don't address moments like that, they could actually like close up an entire chapter of your life and you
That's
will
true.
never remember them. All of those memories of looking at Cocoa House, being excited to go to the village to see old houses, how they were built, and all those kind
Mm,
of things. I completely forgot
mm,
throughout my university days.
yeah.
And as I was getting to the end of my first degree, I started to see a pattern. Any project I'm working on, something that looks like what I saw when I was younger is always in there. So bit by bit, I started to remember.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm never going to let this thing go again.
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why most people don't find it back is because they have no way of getting back to those activities that sort of made them who they were.
Yeah.
Uh, For me, going to the village was amazing, right? Sightseeing, just
Mhm.
going to places and just see things that are normally won't be within my immediate environment. That was something. But then that stopped because you were locked in a university or secondary school for months, even
Yeah,
like years. You're only seeing the same thing all through.
that's right.
And the classroom sort of attributed to this, if I'm being honest. So we lived our lives in this confinement,
Mhm.
constantly going through schedules, repeated sequences day in, day out. Nothing is sparking that part of yourself again. And for me, when I knew that, okay, this was the problem, I think one of the most amazing things I did was I started going to places that I see on TV or I see in books.
Yeah,
I mean, this is not outside Nigeria, but
yeah,
at the time, if it was within Ogun State,
yeah.
Lagos, I'd go alone and at least
Wow.
see these places, um, Uluma Rock, all of these places that do people talk about and be fascinated about. And then I'll try to
Mhm.
understand how did they build this thing? Why is it this way? So just asking questions again. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's one thing adults don't do. We don't ask questions. We just go with the flow. We just
Yeah.
accept things the way they are. And that's where the problem starts from. Funny enough, I've made a couple of videos in the past where they were just like research. Why is this thing the way it is? And then I'll just, switch into research, look for stuff, and then my findings, I turn it into a video.
Mm.
So that's pretty much how I keep that spirit alive. And um, I think the easiest way to really get it back, if you don't want to go through all the things I just said,
Yeah.
is whatever was like were triggers that made you remember stuff from the past, you can find
Yeah.
them again. For example, me, there were certain musics that I listened to growing up
Mhm.
that if I hear them again, it brings back all of those memories. It brings back those days. So it makes it easy to relive those times. And I'm like,
Yeah.
those were fun times. Why is everything so bleak now? So yeah, that's it. Be a child again, pretty much.
Dimeji, someone might be listening to this and they might be like, yeah, but like to be a child again, like I got bills to pay. Uh I'm focused on money. I'm thinking about my rent, like there's all these and I hear you because it's something that I actively try to do as well, in the sense that to keep asking questions and just even just poke a hole in people's theories, like just for fun, just
Yeah,
to see what gives, right? But I like the approach of going to places or doing things that would trigger those memories. And it sort of goes back to this idea of being a tourist in your own city and being
yeah.
a tourist, because a lot of people don't actually explore where we live, right? And I don't know why. And I'm guilty of this too, to be honest with you. Like there's
You know something interesting. Sorry to cut in.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
There is a place in Edinburgh called
Mm,
Ottersit. It's a hill
mm,
and it was from when like volcanic eruption and stuff like that, and it's really really beautiful. I've seen videos of it, I've seen drone shots of people and all of that, but I've never been there. And it's probably like 10 minutes away, but then we'll plan trips to go to farther places.
yeah.
It's just like so strange. And then you see people who come all the way from London, you know
Mm,
very far places within the
yeah.
UK, even outside, and they're so eager to go and look at Ottosit. I'm like, it's just right there.
Bro.
So
No, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the close proximity that we're just like, it can't be that, but I don't know what it is. But
yeah,
anyways,
I think it's called the 1 day syndrome.
the 1 day syndrome. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Let's pivot a little bit, Dimeji, because
All right.
I know the people listening here and watching are probably going to be people who really want to hear about your creative journey, and they've seen your results and they've seen some of the things that you've achieved, and they're probably like really inspired, and I'm one of those people. I'm really inspired by all that you've done. But the other side of what they haven't seen is kind of what I want you to sort of talk about. Everybody talks about consistency on the internet, consistency is a buzzword nowadays. You just got to
Yeah.
be consistent. You just got to be consistent. But what do you do as a creative who is consistent but not seeing results? Because a lot of people, that's where they are, and that's frankly the point where a lot of people quit. It's I'm being consistent, but I don't see the results. Like, did you have a point in your journey that was similar to that? And if you did, like, what did you do to get out of that?
Oh, do we have all day? So consistency has become, I don't know what word to use. It's
Mm,
just not it anymore.
mhm,
And the way it's being sold now, it's like just start, which is a very typical cliche advice. Very
mhm,
important, necessary, but how do I do that? And for me, my journey started, I think, School of Architecture. The first year I go into uni, uh, curious mind, wanted to understand what people were doing within this place. And then I found someone who was using something I'd never seen before. It was Photoshop. I was like,
mhm,
oh, interesting. So I sat and was just watching what he was doing. And then I started asking questions. And I was like, why are you using this one? Why are you not using CorelDRAW
mhm,
or the other ones that exist? I know people used to use Microsoft Paint, MS Paint, to do designs and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is easier. Said so many things. It was more like singing the praise for Photoshop. I was like,
mhm.
okay. And then I went to go and find it. And at the time, I didn't have a laptop, so I was just reading stuff
Wow.
on. I was just reading about Adobe, how they created it, which there's a long story behind that. But then so much history, so much data about that particular product. And I was quite intrigued. So I did my research and I think I spent like over 6 months just learning more about that world of design.
Mhm,
And eventually when I found a laptop and I got Photoshop installed, the first thing I did was to look for all of the flyers I'd ever seen in my life
wow.
that was just very annoying or disgusting to me. And I redesigned everything the way I wanted it to look. And for me, that's consistency,
Mm,
right? It's like being single minded based on something that ignites something in you.
yeah.
I saw that thing and I was like, I want to be able to do this as well.
Mm,
And spent roughly a year just researching, learning, reading, finding resources, people who I've seen online who are using stuff like that. And that's where most people don't, these are things most people don't want to do.
mm,
We feel like practice makes perfect. Well, that's fine. For me, I would say practice makes better. But
mm,
then the practice needs to be built on a very strong foundation of knowledge. So if that is not there, you don't have anything. You
mm,
could practice, practice, practice. And if you're missing the foundation or the fundamentals, you won't be good.
mm.
You will get tired because you don't understand how it works. And I always tell people this: figure out how something works first before you then try to make it work in
Mm,
your own face or in your own eyes. Because if you understand how it works, figuring out or building it in a way that works as well won't be so hard.
mm,
And after I'd spent many months just seeing stuff about Photoshop, I was able to spend the next just 2 weeks really understanding everything that's to do with the physical thing. It's just like I'll say driving.
mm,
You do your theory test, read and all of that, and then start the practicals and all. And all the things you did during the theory is what is really helping you understand, oh, like putting thoughts to physical and then it's
exactly.
thinking is making sense and you're able to easily do it without, I mean, it will take you a bit of time to get it, but then all that knowledge is giving you strength and is empowering you to do it right.
Mm,
And this is what people don't want to do. 80% of the content I create, I never talk about the how. I mostly try to show you the why. Why is this thing like this? Why is it created this way? What, like I'm tackling the inner man, the person behind the scenes, the person
Mm,
that if you can change that person, anything you pick will be quite easy to master because the foundation is there. And that
mm,
is the basis of consistency for me. And I'll share this. I did that for Photoshop. It was great. But then 2018, 2019 was one of those years that short form video began to rise.
mhm.
Most people remember 2020 because of the pandemic, but
Yeah.
2018, 2019 was the beginning, like the was more like the fresh start of all of these things. And that year, I did a lot of reading. I went to look for when Musically was still Musically. How did it work? Why did Vine collapse? All of those things. I was
Mm,
just reading up on these things. And I'm the kind of person that I never used to like reading. But then I knew that if I don't read, I won't know something. So I started
mm,
reading. And from reading, I started to see patterns in how trends are formed, how people master skills, how
mm.
people learn stuff. And coincidentally, that was around the time James Clear released his book.
Atomic Habits?
It just made things easy. Take things bit by bit
Mm,
and it compounds over time.
yeah.
The 80-20 rule, all of those things that I found in books started to come into play. But all of these things was building on the foundation of something that I feel like I really haven't talked about this anywhere. That's interesting. What you fill your mind determines the way you transform whatever thought or ideas you
Mm,
get. So for me, the idea, the foundation that if I can devote time to know how something works, it will take me less time to understand, to master the physical part and then start producing results. And that was it for me. So it might not be the same for everybody, but I feel like it's quite universal in the sense that if you devote time to studying the foundations, the reasons behind something, start with why, very basic things.
yeah.
The how won't be so hard. It's like the way we used to do further maths. It was until I left secondary school before I understood further maths in detail. Like it was so hard. But then there are very basic foundations that if you get those things right, they don't even care if you get the answer right.
Yeah.
As long as you can get the steps, you're good.
Mm,
So that was it for me. And then I started applying that very simple principle to every other thing, whether it was to learn about, marriage, learn about being a dad,
yeah.
learn about so many things, being a founder, running a business, monetizing stuff. It all started from that same thing, which is if I can devote myself to understanding the why behind
Mhm.
something, the
Yeah.
how won't be so hard.
Mm,
So the reason why consistency might be hard for some people, or for most people, is they don't want to pay the price of building that foundation. What you see today for most successful creators or creators you admire or creatives you see and you're like, wow, how did they get here?
mm,
It's not just consistency. It's what is behind that consistency, the foundation or the knowledge bank that they have.
mhm. Yeah.
And the weird part, if you look at people who are economists or who studied economics, engineering, these two categories of people, they can pick anything and do it well
Yeah.
because of the way what they studied allows them to pour their entire head into that. Like, there's no way you study economics or engineering, whatever type of engineering really,
Yeah.
and you don't understand how things work. For economists, they understand how money works and all of those things.
Yeah.
And then for the other side, they understand like how things that is being built, how it works. So that gives them leverage. And I
Mm,
have friends who are that, and it gives them leverage. Architecture is very close to that, but architecture sort of robs you of the beauty of because you're like stuck in the middle. You're neither to
exactly.
the strong financial side nor to the strong technical side. You're just in the
Yeah.
middle, balancing creativity and it can be a trap for most people. But I found a way out. So yeah.
No, honestly, I was gonna say I'll take the compliment because I'm an engineer, right? I have an engineering background, civil engineering background, so I'll take the compliment. But you're absolutely right, Dimeji. One of the things that I realized after university was that by way of just what I had studied, it's almost like you get this. Engineers have a chip on their shoulder,
Yeah.
and it's
It's like a head
because of
start.
and it's because of the process that we go through,
Yeah.
and it's so like intense, and you just and like you rightfully said, you just feel like you can learn anything. You just feel like whatever it is, I can do it. It's not always a good thing though, but sometimes it helps, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that over 70% of you who watch this podcast are not subscribed? Some people have even told me they were shocked when they realized they were not subscribed yet. So if you're enjoying this and you're back for more, I would love for you to take 2 seconds and hit the subscribe button. It's completely free, and honestly, it's the best way for you to support all that we're building here at the Many Roads. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, join our community, and let's keep growing together. So I guess the other part of all of this, Dimeji, is so we've talked about a creative who's sort of battling with consistency, and I like the fact that you said focus more on the knowledge, focus more on the why before you start to try to figure out the how,
Yeah.
because the consistency, like consistency in the wrong direction, is a waste essentially. Like you need to know exactly what you're doing, or at least have an idea of what you're doing, and then be consistent in that. The
Yeah.
other part that I wanted to sort of highlight as well, that I want you to talk about, Dimeji, is for you, one of the biggest things that you talk about is you want creatives to be paid, and you want them to be paid well, like to be paid in such a way that that gap that you talked about earlier on closes. You know,
Yeah.
yes, there's a lot of skill, but the pay should be commensurate with the skill, right? Now, for a creative who's starting, and this is something that I've noticed. I'm seeing a lot of desire for people who want to go into the creatives because of the money. But then I feel like I don't. Maybe you can correct me. I feel like that might be the wrong motive. Even though yes, the pay is important, but
Yeah.
but can that be the only reason? Should that be the only reason? Like, how do you prioritize? I'm doing this for the money, or I'm actually passionate about this.
So there are two angles to that. And the first one is, well, I would say two different personalities when it comes to creativity and making money.
Yeah.
The first type of person are the ones who believe putting a price on creativity is like, it just doesn't sit well. It's like, it's priceless. Yeah. And then there are the other ones who I know something, there must be money attached to it,
Exactly.
like extremes.
Mm-hmm.
And I rarely see people who are quite balanced,
Mm-hmm.
or at least figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I was the first type of person. I was like, just give it freely. It's a gift, it's a talent. Let people, enjoy it. And that works when you're probably still getting stipends or something
Yeah.
until you hit the real world. And then you know that creativity doesn't pay the bills.
Mm.
Having business knowledge pays the
Yeah.
bills. And for me, it took a while, to be honest. So I'll probably just share more stories here. I talked about design school, right?
Yeah.
So when it started, it was something that started doing NYSE. I mean, it has started before then, but then during NYSE, it started then, and taught a group of core members design.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good. We had over 200 people in attendance,
Wow.
and it was physical. And then after NYC, I was just like, why not just make this thing where we take it to universities?
Mm.
And so we did one and then we moved to universities, did one in OAU, did one in UI. And then it got to a time I just thought, you know what if we just did a big class, like have lots of people join, and then we took to social media. At the time, I think I still had like relatively small audience. think I had like
mm,
maybe like 8,200. And I'd been doing like teaching on YouTube. I would share, things I'm learning and all of that. And then I made an announcement that um, we're going to do a design school. I had partnered with a friend who happened to be an economist
mm,
turned designer. And I think I taught him major part of what he knew about design. And then he just took it off from there and, was blazing, which was really amazing to see. So I was like, okay,
mm,
I could teach someone who has very little background and then now knows it well. So let's collaborate based on what you know, your experience of economics, business. Let's bring it together and teach people something. And we started announcing the class in, I think, January of 2020. And then lockdown happened and we didn't know what else to do. So we just turned it
wow,
into an online class.
mm,
And with the online, on the day of registration, we had about 800 people sign up.
wow,
By the end of the 2 week marketing or
yeah,
announcement thing, we had over 1,700, and we did the sessions. Everything went well, but one of the things that kept coming back that most people really don't understand is that experience alone made it easy to spot more of the gaps. And
mm,
because I was the kind of person that felt like, okay, we don't need to make money from this thing.
yeah,
We just ran it and it went well. We got sponsors, all of that. So it was like, yeah, that was working. And then I left NYC, started running like a freelance thing. And I was
yeah,
working with clients, mostly churches, doing church media and all of that. And that was
yeah,
going quite well until lockdown, you know, where a lot of things had to stall. They weren't doing like physical flyers anymore. And all of those
mm,
things was just back to back. So for me, that was the moment I knew that to survive as a creative and to enjoy the process or the
mm,
work you're doing, you need two things. One, which is the most important, and I won't put it second for any reason. You need money that gives you room
mm,
to spend time with your art or with your work. Because
yeah,
if you're doing it from a place of meeting your needs,
mm,
it becomes a chore and then it starts to get very frustrating because
mm,
in the creative world, it's pretty much paycheck to paycheck. Not even
mm.
paycheck, invoice to invoice.
Invoice to invoice.
Sometimes promises,
Yeah,
sometimes exposure,
mm,
and that doesn't do any good. So
mm,
that was what I started to like see the patterns, and I'm like, okay. I went back to the same casual, regular Dimeji. Why does the term starving artist exist?
yeah,
And that was a rabbit hole. And then saw a lot of different things. And I spotted a few things, which interestingly, I shared it on my Instagram a couple of days ago, just talking about what I've learned from seeing why creatives don't want to talk about money.
yeah,
For most people, it wasn't something that was like so talked about in their, upbringing. So that's the fault. For
yeah,
some other persons, they just don't like I said, I'm just the kind of person that feels like money and creativity they don't go together. They are mutually
mm.
exclusive. But then the most interesting part was now seeing the other side. And the other side sort of breeds burnout,
Mm.
but it's profiting. But then the
Oof.
profit, they don't really mean anything at that time. When you're burnt out, you're exhausted,
Yeah.
but like you made some money. What's the joy in that?
Mm.
So I started thinking to myself, is there a middle ground? And then, yeah, I did find a middle ground. And the middle ground is not what most people sort of think it is. Um, the middle ground is more like wanting to eat your cake and have it, right? How can you work in the creative industry, working less hours,
Yeah.
but then be able to make something relatively enough to pay your bills, to run your
Mhm.
life, without really, like stressing yourself, breaking your
Yeah.
back, and at the same time not going broke. And the breakthrough for me happened when I started putting out, let me say it the way I usually tell my students.
Yeah.
Eh, I found a way to turn my sawdust into pieces of furniture for other
Uh-huh.
people, pretty much. And what I mean by that is this. There are things that I've done over and over again that has become default for me,
Mm.
right? For example,
Yeah.
what I shared about this foundation of curiosity, knowledge, just diving into finding, just finding information and just consuming it. I started thinking, is there a way to profit from this?
Mm.
Because that's one of the only ways I've seen that you won't feel bad about wanting to monetize. If it is something that you don't have to spend hours doing,
Yeah.
it's perfect. And for
Mhm.
me, it was podcasting, right?
Okay.
So I started podcasting in 2018 and I did it 2019, 2020. And I had 52 episodes, interviewed episodes, all 52 of
Yeah.
them. And I shared the journey of doing that with my audience for 2 years.
Mhm.
It was, I started weekly and then I switched to bi-week, twice a month. So I spent 2 years. And through the process, I was sharing, I talked about how I find my guests, the why behind the podcast, so many things. And I was sharing them in
Mhm.
bits and pieces. I would do Instagram live sometimes. And from the very beginning, I'd always pictured it in my head that I want to let people see more into this world.
Okay.
So is there a way to start to share the behind the scenes with them? Because people really did be behind the scenes of creative work at the time
Mhm.
and actually show themselves. So I was showing myself setting up for a podcast, maybe, just trying to run the thing. I'll just set up my phone somewhere and then it records me and then I put it up on Instagram or stories or pictures. And little did I know that people were actually watching and they
Mhm.
were noticing. So in 2020, I had this idea to do a podcast workshop that was going to last 3 days.
Okay.
And those 3 days, I would bring, you know, big names within the podcasting scene in Nigeria to come together, teach these people stuff. And I was going to put a price on it for 10,000 naira, which I had this internal battle for like 4 weeks. Is 10,000 naira not too much during COVID? But
Yeah.
eventually, I did it at 10,000. I was like, okay. But then in my head, I'm like, learning from all the things I've learned about business, about marketing, about branding, will anyone really want to just drop 10,000 naira and come for a class or a.
Mhm.
So I asked myself the honest question, Dimeji, would you do that? I was like, no. I was like, okay, what will make you do that? I was like, maybe if the person shows me more about this world,
Mhm.
you know, I get to hear them talk about it well, uh, something that can at least give me a head start. I was like, okay, perfect. So I walked backwards. The goal
Mhm.
was a 3 days workshop for 10,000 naira, but I'll break it down. I'll do, I'll start with Instagram lives every
Mhm.
Wednesday for say a month or two, talking about podcasting, what I've learned, how people can do it, the results I've seen, more like just things that make it appealing to people.
Yeah.
And then after that, wait some time and then do a webinar for a very low price.
Mhm.
And then give people something to run with. And then to the point where they know that they actually need to finish it. And then at
Yeah.
the end, you do the workshop. I was like, okay, great plan. So I started doing Instagram lives. And for the first time ever on my Instagram, I was seeing 50, 70, 80 people join my Instagram live on
Wow.
Wednesdays.
Yeah.
By weirdly enough, by 11 p.m., I was like, oh, great. And then
Wow.
it kept on going. And by the fifth week, I think I recorded 250 people join.
Wow.
And at some point, there was 75 people constant. Just
Yeah.
in my heart, I was like, this thing is working, nice. And that was it.
Mm.
And then about 4 weeks later, I just came and I was like, okay, if you guys really loved okay, now let's do a more deep dive.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a webinar. It's going to be 2 hours. And it was priced at 1,000 naira. Even the 1,000 was just so that people would take it seriously.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I had over, if I remember correctly, close to 400 people signed up.
Mm.
And I had to do the webinar in 4 batches.
Mm.
So, because I mean, Zoom at the time, that was when Zoom
Yeah,
was all over the place and you could only
yeah.
do 100.
100, yeah.
Yeah. So I did it that way. And before anything, what I did was space it across 4 days. So the first day, it was recorded.
Okay.
And then the recording was what I used for day 2, day 3, and day 4, which
Mm.
is just work once and don't spend too much time trying to do the same thing for, like, it's the same thing. So people will just,
Yeah,
and then after the end, we did Q&A and all of that.
yeah.
Um, and then for those who couldn't attend and wanted to, I packaged the recording and sold it for 500 naira.
Wow.
Um, and that was it. Made some money, bought upgraded podcast mic.
Yeah,
I think that was when I got a camera. It just felt cool, right? It's like, okay, I'm investing back into this whole thing.
yeah.
And then the workshop. For the workshop, I did a month of promotions to build up to
Mm.
that. And eventually, some people even decided to sponsor some slots. But in total, I had 174 people pay 10,000 naira for the workshop. And that was like the whole idea was do a podcast workshop.
Mhm.
But then the question was, will people really want to pay for this? And I was asking myself, because 80% of the time I use myself as the, target audience. Because if this was me 4 years ago, would I want this? Would I pay for it? Yeah, those kind of
Mm.
questions. And
Yeah.
I feel like maybe my knowledge of branding also really helps because I practiced as a brand and identity designer for like 5 years before switching to user experience. So that's the gap so that's me talking about turning my sawdust into someone else's furniture.
Furniture,
These are
yeah.
things that are default to me. I've done it, I've mastered it, I'm quite good at it. Is there a way I can do something that doesn't really shake me and can be bringing in money probably while I sleep? And
Yeah.
from the podcast workshop, I created an ebook for the people who attended. And eventually, the ebook became one of my biggest digital products till
Wow.
recently.
Yeah.
And people constantly would buy it. They would start their podcast, share their results with me and all of that. But then this is the irony, right? Or this is the part people don't know. People didn't know then. At the time, my podcast wasn't really getting much listened because it was podcast. People didn't really know much about it. It wasn't like,
Mhm.
and I was doing it video podcast. So people will see people don't see your metrics because it's a podcast. But
Yeah.
then I come online and I talk about the podcast like everybody's listening to it. Not that I'm lying, but there's this energy I carry when I'm talking about my podcast. I'm like,
That's right. Yeah.
our listeners are really loving it. The downloads are amazing because, yeah, the little metrics I have, that's good for me. So I use that
Yeah.
energy to sort of talk about it. So it created this perception that this guy he really knows what he's doing. And
Mm.
then little by little, numbers actually started increasing. And then the
Mm.
day I shared a screenshot with the people on um, so I shared a screenshot I think the 8th month and then after 2 years. And they were
Mm.
so shocked because it went from like 11 listens to about 400 and something.
Wow.
And they were like, how did that happen? I said, I was talking about it like I had 400, you know? So it just created that. And that's one thing I feel like a lot of people don't see, which is
Mhm.
look for the things that seem insignificant to you. It is
Okay.
someone else's value. Package
Wow.
it and try and see if you can put it out there. But then the other side now, which is actually building something.
Mhm.
That's the new way I'm seeing creators monetize now. Because if you can build something that solves a problem, it doesn't have to be anything big. I've built a couple of things and I've seen that the smallest of ideas can grow into something really big if
Mm.
it's solving the right need. And you could
Mm.
probably even hit a jackpot in some cases. Um, I think one of the other areas that I've seen people take for granted is open source resources. It doesn't just give you, I mean, it might not pay you like actual money. People can
Mhm.
donate, but it might not pay you actual money, but it gives you exposure in a way that money can't even buy. And I'll give you an
Mm.
example. What happened to me? So, while I was still designing, I still design, but not actively. So while I was like heavy on design and I was doing branding and UX, most of my clients, when I was doing church designs and church media, they would always ask for, pictures of people of color to use in their
Mhm.
designs because it's an African church in Canada or in Italy. They need like, representation. So, it's quite hard to even find quality, like good ones. The quality ones are probably like paid for. You have to pay for it.
Mm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
how much are they paying me that I'll be spending so much on stock photos? So I one day I just decided like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start creating my own. And I
Mm.
started using myself as the person on the flyer, or
Yeah.
maybe my hand holding the Bible and things like that. And then one of the designs fell into the hands of another designer. And I was like,
Yeah.
Dimeji, this looks like you. Can you send me this picture? I want to use it for a design too. So I sent it to
Wow.
him. And in the space of 4 weeks, that picture has gone around a couple of designers within Nigeria who have used it for church designs. And I'm like,
Wow.
wait, what's going on? And then a friend was like, if this has this level of range or reach,
Mm.
why not
Yeah.
just start uploading them to stock photo platforms? I was like, okay. And
Mm.
I just put four of them on Pexels, and I think on Splash. And I totally forgot about it. 4 months later, someone just sent me a flyer. I think maybe it was from a church, like a really big church. I think was it Elevation? I can't remember the name of the church.
Yeah.
And they used my picture for a design.
Wow.
And this wasn't just a normal design. It was like one of their major like yearly events. And it was just my face. I was like, what? So I went back to Pixels to go and check
Yeah.
what's going on with these photos. And it's received over 2 million views and
Wow.
like over, I think, 12,000 downloads. Wow.
Mm.
That's impressive. So I started putting out more.
Mm.
And then I started seeing people request for types of shots and stuff like that. And then I was doing that and I'll put it up. And then during COVID, I did the COVID, face mask edition
Yeah.
and all of that. And there was a day my mom called me and was like, Dimeji, this is your face I'm seeing in the hospital. Your face is on calendar.
What?
Who use it for souvenirs? I was like, what? And that was when I started, having more followers on Instagram, and people would be
Mm.
sending me stuff from Toronto, from their
Mm.
university, from websites.
Wow.
But then the part that now became a benefit to me now was a lawyer from Canada was trying to redesign, his company's website. And then they
Yeah.
were looking for like, I think they were trying to look for black people to use for stock, like placeholders. And he just found my page on Pixels. And next thing, I think on my Pixels, I put my location there, Ibadan, Nigeria.
Mhm.
And then he just shot me an email. And I was like, that he grew up in Ibadan.
Wow.
And it feels like maybe I might be the right person to do this, that they're trying to redesign their company's website. And, can I do it? I was like, and that was when I just started user experience. I was like, oh, yes, I
Mm.
can do that. And that happened to be one of the first biggest jobs I ever did.
Mm.
And that was 2019. And it came from just putting up, like an open source project that I really didn't
Mm.
even want to start, but
Yeah.
then eventually started. So that thing of don't work for exposure, it can be quite strategic. Not
Mm.
exposure that is at the, like you're doing free work. No. but like
Okay.
position your stuff in places that grabs eyeballs, that
Mm,
gives you attention, that gives you exposure. Very important. If you do that right, I can guarantee you that within time, like we know in no time, you know, you will find opportunities that would change your entire creative career. But going on and on about money is not the right approach for most creatives. So it's
mm,
for you. It's important for you to understand what the whole thing is for you. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to enjoy your creative career and really make the best of it, don't let the presence of money be an hindrance. Because if
mhm.
it is not there, it will be hard for you to scale or to even practice or to even do it right. And
Yeah.
if you focus solely on it, you will not enjoy your work. So
Mm,
look for things that are things that like you don't even consider them as anything because to you it's like normal. But for some people, that's like I know people who have converted their entire illustration library. Like they're working on designs and then they just do manual stuff and create custom made things.
yeah.
And after like 2 years, they already have a very huge library that they've created themselves. I was like,
Mm,
package this thing. This is what people are looking for out there.
wow.
And then he went ahead and did it, and the thing sold like I think uh 4,000 sales in like 6 months.
That's crazy.
Whereas you could have just kept grinding to look for a client that would and this is money that you don't even know. It's just coming in without
Yeah.
even like working for it. So yeah, so I mean there's a lot more to say about it, but I've learned a lot and I know definitely that if you're working from a place of pressure to make money, ah, it's not a good place to be in. So I've been there
Yeah.
time and time again.
Yeah. Like and the thing is, I've never been a full time creative. I'm not like this is actually apart from music, this is the first other creative thing I would say that I've ever done.
Mm,
Right. Um, but I can understand like even when it comes to music, sometimes I like when people talk too much about the money, it almost like takes the fun out of it for me.
yeah,
So I can definitely understand what you're saying because, but at the same time, you're like, hey, don't waste my time. At least compensate me for my time. So I understand it.
yeah.
But the other part that I want to talk about, Dimeji, quickly is we've talked about sort of the balance of money and creativity, but there's also the balance of attention, metrics, and creativity. And I'm seeing that a lot of people talk about, yeah, don't focus on the numbers, but the numbers are kind of important. So how do you balance that? And I bring this up because this is something that I'm currently dealing with as well, where it's like, okay, I'm just starting out on this journey. At least I think I'm just starting out. The numbers are not where I expect it to be yet, but at the same time, everyone's telling me don't focus on the numbers, focus on the impact. Like, how do you balance that?
So there's this thing they said that numbers don't lie.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, well, I think it's true to some extent, but in the context of creative work, publishing your work, social media, and all of that, the numbers are they're an indication of what's working and
Uh,
what isn't, and it's so key, especially in this age of social media, where most platforms are making detailed metrics or analytics available to you.
yeah.
Why do you think they're making it available?
Uh,
It's so that you can do a review of what you're building or what you're doing and be able to, analyze it, see why there's a drop somewhere, see why there's a
mhm.
spike somewhere, see
Yeah.
why you're losing 4,000 followers, see why those numbers, they teach you something.
Mm,
And this still goes back to what I said initially, which is that a lot of creatives don't spend time on the basics, on the
mm,
foundation. If you know what the metrics are and what they are meant to be for,
yeah.
then it won't be a thing of, oh, I'm focusing on the metric. the metrics should be something you study every single day because they show you what's happening. For example, I posted a video on YouTube last Monday. No, not this Monday, the previous one, October. And I was looking at the retention graph.
Yeah.
And I saw that there was this spike and then next thing. I was like, what's going on? And then I went to the video and I sat down to watch the video again as the spike thing, as the graph thing was moving.
Yeah.
And I noticed something. As I was talking, there was a point where I paused and I was trying to like gather my thoughts together. And I think I lost my train of thought and then I switched to something else. So it was a break off point for people watching. I was like, oh, all right, I'll fix it in the next video.
Yeah.
Now, the next video, it didn't start off great because I posted 2 videos in a week. So I don't know, maybe that's a thing. But then I made sure that I fixed what I learned from the first video. Now, the second video was much longer. The first video was like 11 minutes. The second video was 30 minutes. But then the 30 minutes video has more watch time, less views, more retention. But then the other video has more views, but less retention, less watch time. And I'm like, okay, I've learned something here. Focus more on creating like a sustainable, watch time for longer videos.
Yeah.
Because the longer people can stay watching a long video, the more it gets recommended to people who are more interested in it. But then for a short
Exactly.
video that you have a very huge spike and it goes down, people will get disinterested at some point and YouTube will think nobody's watching this video, so they'll stop sharing it. And that's because the analytics was available to me to be able to see why that was happening. But then most people don't do that. The same thing I do the same thing for Instagram. And I most people don't know this, but I posted a video, I think November 5, and I saw a video on TikTok that was of a gameplay, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to grab this video. I learned something from it, and then put it in my own video and see what happens. And it was bananas. Like I was looking at it and I was like, why are people don't normally stay to the end of a 2 minutes video. Now they are watching a video that is almost 3 minutes long and they are watching from start to finish. Wow. Okay. Something learned. So this is what metrics do for you. This is what analytics do for you. They help you understand what you've created because 1,000 people can be saying the wrong thing about
That's true.
the same content.
Yeah.
If 1,000 people are dropping off at a particular point, then something is up at that particular place. So if you know what is up, it then makes room for you to fix it. But most people are looking at number of likes. Most people are looking at number of shares. Nobody reposted, all of that. It matters to some extent, but what you should look at more is watch time, reach, retention, all of those things. Because there are certain things that the platform doesn't control, which is watch time and retention. Instagram now has it, podcasts have it, right?
Yeah.
So looking at all of those things, if you can fix your watch time and your retention and all of that and drop off points, eventually you would have more views. You would have more listens. And that's the way it works. But most creators don't know this, right?
Yeah.
As much as I really love going into detail about, like how things work, one of the first time I really understood this whole thing was even recently, was 2024 October October. That was when I started my new podcast and I released the episode with my wife.
Yeah.
And I get it. The topic was interesting. But then something else that I saw that was interesting was the retention. 44% of the people watching for the first time sat down and watched the entire 1 hour, 12 minutes video at a
Wow.
stretch.
Hmm.
Was it the story? Was it because his love, his marriage, or his life, or all of that? But then I started noticing the spike points. And the spike points came when I was talking about how I started monetizing my creativity and how that was sort
Mm.
of benefiting our family. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, so people want to know how to make money as a creative. And that
Wow.
became a place where I focused on to start making more content.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the point of the entire video. But then I noticed a spike there and I was like, okay, something is here. And that's pretty much I use metrics for these days. So if I see that a video went out and it didn't have much views, I really don't, it doesn't, I don't spend too much time on it. It pains me.
Hmm.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like you spent hours making a video and then now you put it out there and it's getting like 20, 40, 60 likes. But then within those 60, there's something you can learn. Out of the
Hmm.
60, how many watched to the end?
Yeah.
If out of the 60, 45 watches to the end, that's good.
Hmm.
So what do you now need to fix with that? Maybe your time of posting, your intro, or maybe the thumbnail or the color. Like you'll notice what to fix. It doesn't mean the content is bad. Maybe
Hmm.
delivery wasn't as good as it should be. Maybe it was your distribution. So many things are tied to it. So when you worry too much about metrics, worrying about metrics is not the solution. Is understanding what metric is necessary for what type of growth you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if I want to like skyrocket the listens on my podcast, I won't care too much about how many people I have in my audience on the podcast, for example,
Hmm.
because Spotify now allows you to see number of followers and all of that.
Yeah.
What I would sort of want to know is how many people listened from start to finish in one go.
Yeah.
If I have that number, is there a way I can increase this number? What's probably making people not watch all the way? Is it because the topics are just running for the entire 1 hour? Can there
Hmm.
be moments where, as a host, I can crack some joke, get people to laugh, you know, reach into the my guests' maybe emotional side, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You'll be able to
Yeah.
learn a lot from just looking at those graphs. I think maybe because I've spent too many years doing user experience, maybe it's sort of contributing to that. But it's just the same thing any analyst would tell you. Look at the data, study it, you would see
Hmm.
where to improve, what's working and what's not working.
Yeah. No, I like that, Dimeji. It's a very rounded approach, and it's very like low barrier to entry,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like, and everybody has access to the data for whatever it is they're creating,
true.
and based off of what you're saying, you can like the data will talk to you, but you just have to go look for it and look at what it's saying and find those opportunities to improve.
Yeah,
Now the last question, because time is fast spent, I want to let you go. Last question, actually two more questions. This I was gonna ask you about this. Dimeji, your dad, husband, you're managing all these things, entrepreneur, you have the cool venture that you have with the photo application thing, which is
yeah.
really cool, by the way. Um, so I was gonna ask, as a creative, how do you prioritize your ideas? Because one thing with us creatives is we like ideas are like we have so many ideas, and it's like you wake up, there's a new idea, and you wake up, there's another idea, and like I have like an idea bank, is what I call it, where I just write stuff down that comes to my mind that you should probably film a podcast episode about all this and that. How do you prioritize ideas and say, you know what, okay, this I'm not gonna do this now. I'm gonna do this first. Like, what are some of the things that you use? Because people generally want to create, but it's a matter of okay, which idea do I execute on?
Mm. So I would say I have two main metrics for
Okay.
choosing what idea to pursue or to prioritize. Um, and the first is just willpower,
Hmm.
right? If I can do it myself without anybody's help, without even needing money, yeah, I'll definitely do it because
Mm.
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't take anything away from me. Probably time,
Yeah.
but if I can do that, then I'll pursue the idea. And the and one of the reasons why this is the case for me is because I've come to see ideas not just as uh, seeds that would grow and bring results. I see ideas as a testing, like something that helps you test or validate something.
Yeah.
So if I'm able to validate an idea, it means it can work. But then how do you know if something can work if you don't put it to test? So every
Mm.
single idea I test it before I discard or I decide to prioritize, which is why I said if I can do it myself, I'll go all out. Now,
Yeah.
the other criteria now is collaboration. It's like two sides of the coin.
Mm.
Photopo, for example, wasn't my own original idea,
Mm.
but it was an idea or a fraction of the idea. I had already started executing it by myself
Mm.
before I then found, you know, room to collaborate and it just became a thing. Now, when I originally moved to the UK, I sort of spotted a lot of issues and then things with the event photography space.
Mm.
Because in Nigeria, any event you go to, there would be an official photographer.
Yeah, that's right.
Here, you barely have things like that. So I'm like,
Mhm.
why are these buildings empty? Some that have people. So I was like, okay, you know what? No matter what kind of event, I'll go my camera, capture what's there, package it into a drive, and
Mhm.
then email it to the organizers. And I was doing that for whatever, like a few events. And then one day I shared the process of doing it for one event and I put it on
Yeah.
Instagram. And then the person who had the original idea or photo poll saw it. Well, yeah, like, it had just come on their radar at some point.
Mhm.
And then eventually there was a connection between my wife and one of them. And then, we eventually got connected. And then the person was like, oh, we've seen your work. You, we think you're the perfect person to help take Photopol to the next level
Yeah.
because you have the experience, you have also the audience, but then generally you're just someone who wants to try things. And this is the kind of person we need. So collaboration at that point, I didn't think twice because I'm like, I thought about this idea, but I can't build it
Mhm.
right now. So I'm like,
Yeah.
you built it or you built
Yeah.
the beginning. So let's amplify it. Let's scale it. And that was how, that came about. So two things. If you can do it yourself, build it, everything, ship it, go all out, validate
Mhm.
it. If it, if you see that, okay, people want it, it will work, people need it, or whatever metrics you're using to validate, that's cool. If it's
Mm.
not, then you don't need to spend years working on an idea that eventually will collapse. So you've saved yourself a few years. And validating an idea shouldn't really take time. Like
Mm.
2 days, 1 week, just asking people questions, Google form, or
Yeah.
just doing Instagram stories or a poll. You will get people give you like data and you use that to check what's happening. And I've been talking about data a lot and it's so important because creative people, I don't know, it's like there's this part of our logical brains that is turned off
Mhm.
that we don't use. I'm like,
Yeah.
you need facts to be
Mm.
able to check those figures, facts and figures. You need both of them. It's not
Yeah.
just how nice it looks or how beautiful it sounds. Like you need to have concrete details that makes you know that this will succeed. And I feel like all of those things, learning those things, made it easy to transition into entrepreneurship and being a founder. So those two things, if you do it well, you know what ideas needs to like yeah for example, I've had an idea I've been nursing for like 4 years,
Yeah.
and I was supposed to start it this year, but then I'm like, "Ugh, I don't think it's ripe yet." So
Mm.
and then other things are still building. So let those ones solid, let them become solid. They will give that one wings to fly. So let me let that
Mm.
one sit. And that's one
Yeah.
of the ideas that I feel like when it eventually comes out, even me, I'm eager to see it happen, but I just know that it can't happen now.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's also a huge part of a creative's journey is the fact that not every idea you get needs to be executed on like immediately.
yeah.
Right, and I've sort of learned that one the hard way as well. I mean, if we're being honest, right? But it's and I don't blame people if they think they need to execute on ideas immediately because you almost feel like as a creative, you almost feel like you're in competition with other creatives, and you feel like they might
Uh,
get to the idea first.
that
So,
yeah,
Dimeji, I think you have something to say about that, like in terms
it,
of getting to the idea first.
it's a bottomless pit. Like if you fall
Mm,
into it, you just keep going. And then
mm,
if you're not careful, you resent the person who did it first. But then the thing is, I've learned it over and over again that there is room for every single one of us to fly
mm. Yeah.
in this whole thing. Look at 80% of AI companies today. They're doing the
Mm.
same thing,
That's facts. That's true.
but they all have strengths
Hmm.
that makes one audience prefer it to the other. And
Yeah.
that's the same thing. I wasn't the first person to do a podcast workshop in Nigeria. I wasn't the first person to do a business school, or sorry, design school. I wasn't the first,
Yeah.
so many things. But one of the key things that I feel like most people miss is there are certain things unique to you that won't be there for the other person. So
Mm.
build on that. For me, storytelling was so key in driving everything because I realized that people were tired of all of those well designed stuff. What's happening? How did you do it? What's behind
Mm.
it? Like, what's the life of this person? And that's what I started to share, and it changed everything. I remember my most viral video to date. I was sort of finishing a project that night, and I was really exhausted. But I was like,
Mm.
there's a part of me that I've never talked about, even though people know it. So maybe it would be nice to make a video about it. And I just shot I think a 32 seconds video
Wow.
talking about that. I'm an introvert. I'm not shy. I'm not stuck up, and all of that. And I didn't publish the video. I just kept it in my draft.
Mm.
And then I kept making my normal videos and then there was a particular day I had exhausted all my buffer content. I was too tired to make another video that day. I just saw that one sitting in my draft. I was like, should I post this video? I just posted it and I went to bed. I woke up, I think 6 hours later, around afternoon, and I'd seen close to 100,000 likes.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, what? How? Same thing on TikTok. TikTok was
Hmm.
even wild. TikTok had gotten to close to like, I think 400,000 likes
Yeah.
in 6 hours. And the
That's
shares
crazy.
was, people were just saying, this is me, this is me, this is me. Wow,
Hmm.
wow, amazing, amazing. And then 4 days later, I got an email from NBC News
Wow.
that National Introverts Week was happening, soon. And they would want
That's
me
crazy.
to have I think, was it a 10-minute session just talking about
Yeah.
the stereotypes of introverts and all of that. I was like, what's really going on here? Like the video that I didn't want to put out,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
personality I didn't want to express, then became one of the biggest things that gave me spotlight. I was like, okay. So sometimes it's just that part of you that you probably don't want people to see that
Yeah.
becomes the glue to your entire creative career.
Wow.
So explore more of yourself, not just your work. Because today people want to, there are so many artists that no one really knows who is behind it. And then the day they
Mhm.
eventually reveal themselves, they probably like sell out the entire, catalog
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
people are like, who is the genius behind this thing? They want to know. So anonymity is not, is not flex anymore.
It's not. Wow.
So yeah.
Dimeji, honestly, I had one last question for you, but I think I have to crave your indulgence and ask you right here to be a guest again because we didn't even talk about fatherhood at all. And I know like it's such a huge part of all that you do and all that
Yeah.
you are. But let me just ask you quickly, how has fatherhood changed your worldview and your approach to all that you do?
Uh, I think it has drawn me closer back to that kid.
Mm,
Yeah, because I'm looking at my son and I'm sort of remembering how I used to be very chaotic as well. But then
mm,
the chaos eventually turns into something appealing. I'm like,
yeah,
why am I suddenly trying to, make everything straight and smooth?
yeah,
Like, let the chaos flow. Let it build something. But honestly, fatherhood has been one of those, people would say, life altering
mhm,
experiences, but for me, it shaped my life
that's right.
into something a lot more detailed
Hmm.
and more meaningful.
Yeah.
Um, and the weird part is, you know, all through my high school, uni days, I would always tell my friends that I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad,
Wow.
and it sounded like a strange concept. And
Mm,
then, I did it, I'm doing it, and I think the more time I spend in that capacity, the more I realize that if I don't do this,
yeah.
I feel like I'll forever miss a part of myself that I'll never discover.
Mm,
So,
mm,
and that part is giving expression to a lot of other things, right? Uh, you know, the thought of just being a dad at the beginning was like, oh my goodness, I need to understand business. Oh my God, I need to make sure that bills are no longer an issue. So many
hmm.
things that
Yeah.
you can easily take for granted. And it's not just from a place of responsibility, it's more from a place of reverence for how
Yeah.
every other, father does it.
Yeah. That's right.
So it's been beautiful. Um, I think one of the funniest thing I did recently was creating something I call dad maths, and
Mm,
I shared with my followers, and I feel like they really enjoyed it or they bought into it because it felt like, is that even possible? And that's what I did. I've done it. I'm doing it
yeah.
time and time again. Oh, I mean, not time, like the last 2 years, that's what I've done. And I've seen results from it. I'm like, why are more people not doing this? My
Yeah.
natural instinct was that, what, just share it. I was like, will people not say this guy is doing too much or something like that? But then eventually I shared it and then was well received. And I'm like, what was I overthinking it all this while? Which brings me back to, watching my son in his chaos and then that chaos
Yeah.
becoming, something solid. So,
Yeah. No, honestly, Dimeji, I agree with you. Funny enough, I saw that video and I liked it because it it was very how do I it was very demystifying in a way, in the sense that like people I don't think a lot of us thought that was an option.
mm,
Right. And then you see somebody who's not just saying it's an option, but who's also telling you, this is what I'm currently doing. And then you're like, okay, wait, I thought I had to do it this way, you know?
yeah,
So for me, it was very like sort of mindset shifting, in the sense that maybe you could work half the year and have the other half free and spend time with your family and still be okay financially.
yeah.
Like it's a, I mean, it's a very different way to think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's not even just even like cramping everything into half the year. It's just
No, yeah.
let there be space, let there be
Like,
time to do all
yeah,
those necessary things. It could be you work Monday and Tuesday, and then your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until the weekend is, free.
yeah.
Yeah, not everybody
No,
can do it, but or wants to do it, but everybody
yeah.
can do it. So
Mm. No, honestly, if any generation can get away with it, I feel like it's ours.
Yeah.
It's because of the kind of work we do, the way technology has helped us so much as well.
So much.
Like
So
there's so much we can take advantage of. But anyways, Dimeji, I want to say thank you. This has been a fantastic conversation. Um, thanks for your time. Thanks for um coming on the podcast. Of course, we'll put all your links in the description of the podcast and all that stuff. But I really enjoyed this conversation personally, and
I
I'm
did so.
sure people watching and listening as well did, and I can't wait for it to drop. Is how I would put it. But thank you so much for your time, Dimeji.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
That concludes my conversation with Dimeji. Super insightful, intellectual, amazing conversation, and I'd love to know what you think about all of that, all the things that he said, or if there's something that he said that really got you thinking. I'd love to know what it is. So I would like for you to comment that, put that in the comment section. And also subscribe to the Men Roads channel if you're not subscribed. It's your free way of supporting all that we're doing here. Till next time, God bless.